Is it time for Manchester United fans to start hitting the panic button? I don't know. I think it might be. I mean, the pre-season went really well. The performances were good and exciting. The new signings are encouraging. Even the results were good. But 2 games into the new season and it looks like it's the same old story as last season. It's just not good enough. And here's the thing, I'm an admirer of Ruben Amorim. I so want him to do well. I really do. I think his personality, his philosophy off this pitch, his man management and his vision, they're all great. They're all exciting. And it's exactly what Manchester United needs. But man, the results, mate, they're just not good enough and they're still not coming. You just can't be Manchester United, especially having spent the best part of what was it, 200 million over the summer? To go to Fulham to get outplayed and come away relieved that you've got a point. And I'm just at the point as well where I'm starting to question Amorim's tactical decisions. As the title says, Manchester United set up in a 5-2-3 defensive formation. So basically, whenever the opposition had, settled possession of the ball, Manchester United would revert back to a 5-2-3. And you can see it here. And the thing is, Fulham basically build up from the back with just 2 centre-backs. And you can see there, Robinson, he's at left back, he's quite higher up. And the right back is slightly narrower to change to a back 3 if necessary. And then the rest of the players, somewhat further up the pitch. So you can already do the math and work out the problem. If Fulham only have 2 or maximum 3 players back, and Manchester United have 3 players forward, there's going to be an extra man somewhere for Fulham. And in this sequence, as the play progresses, you can see Smith Rowe. He's not just an extra man, he's basically got a whole football pitch to himself. And you can see the same problem here with Dorgo completely exposed as Shaw has had to step up, been dragged out of position to help out the double pivot midfield of Casemiro and Bruno. And while I mentioned that double pivot, can I just mention the names again? Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. That's Casemiro, who's basically got the turning circle of a bus and moves about the speed as my nan. And Bruno Fernandes, who is about the least defensive-minded player you could possibly put in at the DM position. So what's going on? Of course you're going to get overrun with those 2 as your defensive midfielders. And then on this note, let's look at the Fulham goal. Here we have the trusty 5-2-3 tragedy. Although in this case it's actually worse, as Dalot has gone into a high press, which Fulham have passed through with ease. So then this is where we find ourselves, with 2 centre-backs at the right-back position, Dalot out of the game, Ugarte covering, and basically no midfield to speak of. The play progresses and actually Dalot receives the ball and takes quite possibly the worst touch of the game, and then Fulham regain possession. And then back to the point of those 2 individuals that I mentioned in that double pivot. The goal scorer, Smith Rowe, 4 seconds before the goal, who's his marker? And then who just lets him run through completely unmarked? It's just not the role you want Bruno Fernandes in at all. Is it Bruno's fault? Yeah, he was the one who lost the man. But who decided to put him there in that position in the first place with that responsibility? We're also seeing Man United struggling to get the best out of their best players. Cunha actually started the game really well and could have had himself 2 goals. But in reality, that was purely down to his individual brilliance and not so much the tactics that were going on. Unless you just count Bayinda hoofing the ball up the pitch to Cunha as a legitimate tactic. And Mbeumo has been nowhere near effective in his role. And as mentioned earlier, Bruno is playing the role you'd expect from someone like Sergio bloody Busquets or Rodri or someone. So as I said, with Bayinda playing the long ball to Cunha, Amorim actually has a very strong preference for long ball football, which is fine, and I'm going to make a video on that later for another day. But then basically, I think Sesko is going to become the most important player on the pitch for Manchester United. And if Sesko is not able to dominate the aerial battles, keep possession of the ball, bring other people or other players into play, I think a core principle of Amorim's tactics are going to completely fail. And dramatically, maybe even his time as a Manchester United manager. And that might sound dramatic, but I really do believe a lot hinges on Sesko's ability to play that role as the target man, because it's a role United desperately need right now. And outside of that, Amorim really needs to change that defensive structure. That 5-2-3 did not work. Even if you had the duo of, the 2 I mentioned earlier, Sergio Busquets and Rodri, they would struggle to get overrun in that formation. The math just isn't mathing. So what comes next? Well, I think United fans should really pray for some individual brilliance to steady the ship, because at this point, I'm really not sure you can rely on Amorim's tactics at the moment. Now, let me just say, I believe he's going to get it right. I really do. And I'm really definitely not saying Amorim out. Not at all. And I don't think there should really even be that much pressure on him yet. He's clearly still trying new things and trying to work out how to get the wins and get the job done. And I do think he'll get there. My biggest concern is just actually whether he's actually going to be given the time, because the pressure, it has to be mounted. So let me ask, if you're a United fan and you're watching this, how do you feel? And if you're a fan of another team, how would you feel as a United fan watching this? Or are you just enjoying the ride? Do you agree that Amorim got the tactics incredibly wrong against Fulham? And do you think he'll get it right eventually? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it would really help the channel. Cheers.